Hello, everybody. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. We talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have a former Bristol Blue himself and somebody who I saw play for quite a while during the summers and a really kind of stalwart, a wall behind the plate. He plays at Central right now, the catcher, Sam Loda. Sam, it's great to be able to have you on here, and it was great to be able to catch up with you a little bit before we started this interview.
Same for me. I appreciate you having me. It's a very warm welcome.
Sam, I think obviously we're going to be talking a lot of baseball, and before we get into that, I love to ask athletes how the sport that they're playing currently, the one that obviously is kind of their bread and butter, how did it find them? So for you, the game of baseball, how did it find Sam Loda?
I think it started since I was a kid, playing wiffle ball in the backyard, going to local fields with friends and just playing baseball in a small field with a tennis ball and hitting home runs, and just really that's really how it started growing up. Just my parents got me involved into it. And once I started playing, like ever since I picked up a bat, I've loved it.
So as you started to kind of fall in love with this game, just take me into, were you extremely raw? Did it come natural during the progressions as you were young?
I wouldn't say I was like a standout. I kind of just got into it, I'm very blessed to have a bunch of talented kids around me, a bunch of very good influential coaches as I grew up. I always played a year or two up in Little League because the guys wanted me to play with them. And other than that, it kind of just kept coming along. I kept working hard, and everything just kind of fanned out the way it is.
Now, were you always a catcher, or were you a guy who played multiple positions before finding your home as a catcher?
Um, I'd say like once I got to 12, I really started to like stick to catching. But other than that, I was like everywhere. I'd pitch, I'd play the outfield, I'd play shortstop. But once I hit like 12, 13, I really started to fall in love with catching.
I would think that playing multiple positions and not being just a catcher from the time you were young until now is great in a multitude of ways. And you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the top two for me would be one, it kind of helped your knees and your legs. The wear and tear is not there. And then two, playing multiple positions kind of allows you to think as a catcher would, on top of not just calling pitches and knowing the hitter and such and reading the hitter's swing, but also kind of directing, because you're basically the quarterback. You're directing kind of in a lot of ways. Hey, this guy will pull to the right side. Second baseman, maybe go to shallow right field, something like that. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, you have it directly on the spot. Playing every position, like as a kid, you always want to play everywhere before you find where you want to be. But I think it helps also with like footwork, your arm, I actually played a lot of shortstop before I caught. And even as I was still a catcher, shortstop was my second position. It really helped with my footwork and just like really understanding the game a lot more, everything like that.
Now, as you were starting to mature more and then you were starting to now get to high school, talk to me about kind of, was that when you started to realize that the game of baseball had a potential to kind of, you basically had a chance to go further than high school, or was it before?
Um, I'd say it's a little of both. I was very blessed growing up to be on a bunch of very good travel teams where we were very successful at a young age, and I think that's what really helped me think that I could have a future in the game. Growing up, I played on the Stealth, Connecticut Stealth, and we never lost a game in Connecticut. We came second in an international tournament in Chicago, and then I played for the Wolfpack in the grind, and we've won many tournaments. So once I got into these programs and I was coached up very well, just being a part of baseball like that, I realized that like I could definitely go to the next level with this, and that's when I kind of figured out that I just want to keep going.
Now, when you were playing in these travel teams and such, was there anybody who now is kind of like a big figure, a big name? Did you play? Did you catch or face off against anybody like that?
Um, on my team, there's a bunch of guys that I don't know a bunch of them that play anymore, but we had a bunch of really good guys. I know Mikey T on my team from played on the Bees last year. He was on my team growing up a lot. Will Lucas, he was at UConn before. I don't know where he is anymore. I don't think he plays anymore. I don't really. I don't really. I've never really thought about it like that. I don't know.
See, maybe it's just me thinking, okay, like prime example, the Blues. Pardon me. Thinking about kind of the thinking where guys are, like Buddy Dwayne. We talked about Nyman, Dominic, the big lefty, Shane, who, the feisty lefty who I never will forget, had a no-hitter against the Pittsfield Suns. And,
Hmm.
the hit that he gave up was the most cheapest hit ever.
Oh
And
my God.
yeah, exactly. And, we'll talk about that time too, but just, I think about those kind of players that you played with that were on your team. And then just thinking about everybody else, uh, who was it? The St. John's outfielder whose name is escaping me right now. He's a pitcher.
Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon Miller.
And now he's a pitcher.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like I think about that kind of stuff and it's just one of those things. But anywho, back to you. So through high school, freshman year, sophomore year, junior, senior year, um, the game of baseball typically speeds up for guys when they're, because they're trying to get used to the varsity level. When did you start playing varsity?
After my sophomore year, sophomore year I played a little bit. I think I played like half the season. I didn't get to catch much. There was a senior catcher that was all right, and I think I split some time at first a little bit. But once I got to junior year, I caught mostly every game. Same thing for senior year.
Do you think being able to just get some time on the varsity level your sophomore year kind of helped with the development and, like I mentioned, the game not speeding up so much on you and it gave you the reps that you needed?
Yeah, I think it definitely helped. I think summer ball also helped with the schedule that we played and the competition that we played. I'd say it was pretty typical to like what you'd see in varsity for high school.
Now, where did you play during the summer?
During high school, I played for the Wolfpack, and then I played for the Grind. I think my last 2 years of high school.
Now, what is the difference between, I know a lot of people, and I'm, speaking of, summer ball, Legion seems to kind of, depending on where you are, it seems like it's kind of dying down in certain areas. I mean, I remember when I played Legion ball, the Oakvilles of the world, the Waterberries. I mean, I can name the Waterbury, Cody Kursky, Ryan Pohl, both were drafted. The Cuevases, the Murphys, all the kids, the Bissettes who went to Bryant, Tim Bissett, he was a lefty, you know,
Yeah.
um, I think about those kind of teams and players, and now fast forward to this year, or even last year, actually, Oakville no longer has a Legion team. Waterbury no longer has a Legion team. And I almost wonder, is playing for, the AAUs and these other teams, is that the way to go in the summer now?
I know for me, especially in my town, like we had an AAU program, but the competition wasn't that great. I knew that if I wanted to get exposed to college teams, I'd have to go to AAU. And I think that's happening a lot around the world now, especially with the influence of social media and recruiting. I think AAU is probably the power move now to go, like get on a good AAU team and go to camps and stuff like that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that one because I feel like, and I'm glad you mentioned social media because the pandemic being what it was, social media is how, because let's not forget, football was canceled in high school. And you had a lot of kids
Yep.
who did not get opportunities to get college looks because they didn't have tape. So all they had was video. And I think going back to baseball, I'm seeing, I'm getting tagged in like kids that are not even freshmen or freshmen uh, at the time, and they're trying to be able to get themselves pushed out and say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." And it's nice to see that they're going on that side to be able to get themselves looked at. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I see it all the time. There's kids that are like just coming out of eighth grade that are trying to get recruited, and when I was trying to get recruited, there wasn't stuff like that. Like I didn't know really what to do. I was kind of like an empty road. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just playing at that time.
Was there a game in particular during your time in high school that was a career game? Like it could have been, where you got a bunch of hits, or maybe you hit a home run, or maybe it was just a big game. Is there a game in particular that you can kind of, reflect on and say, I won't forget that game because it just means so much to me?
Um, It's kind of funny that you say that. I actually think about this game. I still have like videos on my phone from it. My junior and senior year, we'd always play Xavier at Palmer Field with the state championships held. And every time we played there, I'd have a bunch of hits. I think junior year, I went 3 for 4 off this kid that was going to Bryan. And the funny thing about it is now he's on Central and he's our closer. And I'm pretty good friends with him. And I had like 2 doubles and a triple off of him.
That's funny. So do you ever kind of like, if he's ever kind of, grinding, busting on you, do you always be like, hey, by the way, I destroyed you in high school. Don't forget that.
I wouldn't do that. We're pretty good friends. We're pretty close now, but he's a nice kid. He's pretty quiet, but I had to let him know the one time we hung out that I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember, but I kind of raked off you in high school.
See, if I could, and I'm sure this being a catcher and knowing pitchers, especially, lefties were a little crazy, righties, pretty normal for the most part. But
Yeah.
pitchers never I feel like pitchers have the minds of like squirrels or cats. We never forget.
Yeah. They never.
Never. But that's pretty awesome to hear about that. So, and speaking of recruitment, just to go back for a second, I know you mentioned how it was a little bit of a difficult, it was difficult for you at the time. How did you find a way to be able to put yourself out there to have Central and other schools look at you? Was this something where, obviously playing for the summer teams and the coaches, was that a big proponent, because obviously if you don't have social media, which we didn't at that time, especially like now, but word of mouth is the best thing ever, if that's not the case.
Yeah. I'd say my AAU coaches, especially at the grind, my coach, Matt Hunty, he really is the one that got me into Central. He was good friends with, I think, Coach Hall at the time, and they had a good relationship, and he put in the word for me. They came to watch a couple games. And I think just doing well in high school really like got a bunch of the local teams to come check me out, stuff like that.
Now, did they, when they were looking at you, they were looking at you just for catcher, correct?
Yeah. By like junior, senior year of high school, that's all I was doing, really. I didn't play any other positions.
Were they telling you that your glove was ahead of your bat or your bat was ahead of your glove?
Definitely that my glove was ahead of my bat, for sure.
Now, did you take that as a compliment? Because defensively, and to go back to when you played for the Blues, nothing got by you, and you called a very good game. You really do.
Thank you. I kind of take it more as a compliment. I knew that I wasn't going to be a power hitter that would hit like 20 home runs a year. I kind of knew my role. I'm kind of a guy that can hit for average, can hit the ball into the gap. And I just really tried to focus on my defense, and I've been trying to build up my hitting, just try to get me to the next level.
And when you made the commitment to Central, I mean, was there other schools involved, or was Central like, I want to go here? This is where I feel like I'm at home.
There was a couple other schools. There was Southern and Sacred Heart, but I really like Central. It was close to home, and I was advised it'd be a good fit for me. And I'm honestly glad I went here because it's like a second home to me now. I love it here.
Especially too, because you and and Central been able to make a couple regionals, Arkansas, Oregon. Take me into the Arkansas one, because that kind of led to being able to play for the Blues as soon as you were done there. That season, and I'm sure you remember it well, did anybody envision playing a regional in Arkansas?
I honestly, at the point in time, I didn't even know like we could go to like a regional really after the NEC, but it was ecstatic going there. And honest, we had a really good team. We were really strong. We were all year, we would grind out. We found out a lot about ourselves throughout the year. We were a very gritty team, and it was just a great year. And I think that held testament to our team and our coaches and everything that we did and that we prepared for.
I think about that collection of players, and then, understandably so, your season ended in the regional, but looking at the glass half full, after the season was over, did any of you kind of, and I'm sure you guys knew beforehand as far as where you were playing at during the summer, did you, yourself, Shane, Nyman, others, like, did you guys know, like, hey, like, all right, even though our college season has ended, we still have unfinished business to do in the summer. We still have a lot to prove. Take me into that.
Um, yeah, after winning and everything, the regional, it was nice, but I know once we got back to the Blues, it's something new, something I've never done before.
Mhm.
So I was just ready to put in the work. I know Buddy was, Dom and Matt. We were all just trying to keep proving ourselves because you never know what can happen in summer ball. You can get a lot of exposure and make a lot of good memories and friendships. And I just really came into it just trying to be the best player I could and just keep improving myself and be like an open book and a sponge and learn everything I can from kids that come from all over the country.
And how was it? I mean, that season, you and I were talking about this before. That season, at least for me, and I've seen a lot of games. I've been around for a while doing, broadcasting. That season, by far, was the most fun I have had in my entire life between the
Oh yeah.
players, the season itself. I mean, it was like a movie. You had, you know, I remember the team did not start out very hot. It was not very good, but then you had a streak that kind of helped really push along. And then you had guys reach their innings limits or get injured. I mean, Thakkar got hurt. He was gone. The big Texas guy. He was
Yep.
Ryan Lott, another one from Wagner. He reached
Yep.
his innings limits, and then I can go on and on and on. But then you get these new guys, these basically, like, I don't want to say replacement players, but like, hey, put on a Blues uniform. I mean, I think about the mascot who's now
Yeah.
Wagner, who,
Jagger.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mick Jagger. And I thought about that after the fact, but I should have said it when he was broadcasting. But he shuts down the Bravehearts in game one
I
of the
know.
better. I mean, you can't make this crap up, man.
I know. It's crazy. I think just the energy and like the camaraderie we had on that team was something special. I mean, I haven't been on a lot of teams where everyone just randomly comes together and we're all just good friends. We hang out a lot. We all grinded together, and we all had the same goal. We just wanted to win and have fun, and it really worked out.
It really did. I mean, and then let's not forget too, also Mark Faello, who beat cancer and was going
Yes.
through chemo. And I still have no idea why he did not get the pitcher of the year. The kid was pitching through chemo and still throwing 90.
Yeah.
Show me, like, come on.
He was great. He was actually the first guy I caught when I got there. I think I was a week after Arkansas I came in, and I caught him for the first time, and he was really good. And I didn't find out until halfway through the season that he was fighting through chemo, and just made my respect for him go so much more up. And he's a very strong kid. I think he's still playing, or he's done at Hofstra now. But you can't deny that he just had the stuff, and he was really good.
He's still at Hofstra and he's still dealing, man. He's still pitching.
Yeah.
Uh, that season, and we talked about, kind of, there was a lot that went into it. When you guys clinched the spot, you got the bye. Andrew Marrero was the one who got the clinching game, and it was actually Garrett Coe who started the game. And it's kind of funny that two UConn boys, one started
Mm-hmm.
it, the other one finished it. When the final out was recorded, I mean, just take me into that emotion, man.
Oh, it was a great time. We were going in trying to win a championship, and we got the bye, and it was great. We got the day off. We haven't had a day off in a while. Day offs are always great in the summer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a great feeling knowing after the whole long summer getting that bye and going into the playoffs with that momentum is just a great feeling.
And then you go to play North Shore. The winner gets to the championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And game one, it was a close game. Faello pitched well, but it just wasn't in the cards. The ball wasn't dropping, going in, wasn't finding the gaps. Then you have to go to North Shore in game two. A
Mm-hmm.
big hole was dug, a massive hole.
Oh yeah, I
Like,
remember.
yeah, and I was watching that game, and I won't lie to you, probably there was maybe an inning or two where I just couldn't watch it, because it's not like I was mad at the team. I was just like I just felt like a break was not there. Even in game two, I felt like what's happening? Take me into that game. Seriously.
I remember I wasn't catching that game. I was on the bench, and
Mhm.
honestly, it sucks. We were down. I think we were down 7 at one point, and everyone. There was always that thought, like in the back of your mind, like this could be it. But next thing you know, I think it was the sixth inning or down 7. We put up 4 or something, and we put up another 3. And the next thing you know, it's the 8th inning and we're winning. And 2 innings ago, we were down 7 runs. It was crazy.
And then I think a lot of people will forget the pitcher who came in after Shane was Tyler Boisvert from Post.
Yeah.
And he originally, and it's in Boisvert, I saw him pitch a lot because he used to pitch for Woodland. He's an NVO guy. So
Okay.
to see him pitch, like when he was throwing up zeros, was that giving you guys, even when you guys were down, was it giving you guys confidence like, hey, this game is not over. He's putting up zeros. We got to do our end.
Oh, for sure. When even though if you're down 7, you got to, as a pitch, you got to come in and keep us like still within the game, because he could have just went in there and not tried, and then they could have put up 5, 4 more, and then the game could have really been out of hand. But him throwing up zeros keeps the momentum in our dugout. We get a couple runs. He throws up a couple zeros, and the next thing you know, we're right back in it.
And when Marrero closed the game out, what was the energy like after that game? Were you guys thinking like, you know what, let's finish this?
Oh, for sure. We were already there. We took a nice 3-hour drive. We came back 7. Came back down 7, and we were ready to go. We were ready to make the championship. I came out the next day and beat them, and then we were just ready to take on the championship.
It was only fitting because of how the first 2 games were that game 3, and I'm sure you remember this too, it didn't start on time because of the weather.
Yeah.
Because of the rain.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was.
Yeah. No, you can go.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say, was the last game at North Shore or was it our field?
It was at Muzzy Field. Shane Bogle started the game. Bogle.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
And he's he's throwing a lot harder now than even when he was back then. But I called him, he was like the Greg Maddux, could kind of cut, sink. He could dot inside and out. When he started that game, I mean, you caught that. You started. You were the catcher. Were you nervous by any chance?
There's always a little nervous, but at that point in the season, I wouldn't say I was that nervous. I was just going along with that. I knew Shane, he was very good and he was very consistent. He could spot up and throw everything that he wanted where he wanted it to be, and that just really adds a lot of confidence for me, because I know if I have a guy and I put something down where I want it, he's pitch it there, it's going to be a good game.
And speaking of somebody that you knew, a pitcher who I don't think anybody would have thought was even a factor as far as before the season started, Kirk himself, who's at Springfield and was actually a part of. I know you actually caught him, I think, when you guys were younger.
Yeah, he played on the stealth team with me.
Exactly, because I remember his father was telling me, it was funny. He told me right before the game, and I used it during the game, and it just worked out really, really well.
Really?
And I actually broadcasted with his father too. Real nice guy. But anywho, so I know useless information. Who cares about that? So when I think about that, what he was able to do for it's not like he pitched 1 inning, he pitched multiple innings. And this is a kid that was 17, 18, facing older. This is a playoff game. This is if you mess up, we're done. Blues are done. Was he nervous? I mean, was he like anything?
I can't recall, but I'm sure he probably had a little nerves, but he's been a dog since he was a younger kid. I remember him. He shoved when we were younger too, and once you get out on that field, that anything can change. People, I think that people, once they get on the field, they're a different person, and he was his truest self on the field, and he shoved since he was younger, and I knew he'd do good once he came out there, and that's what he did.
Is this curveball one of the nastiest curveballs you've caught?
Yeah, definitely one of them. It was just as good when he was younger too.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez. So that's crazy to think that. So then 3 outs away, Kirk does his job, and then comes in the guy who was the starter, the Flo himself, James Judenis from Hartford. I called him Mr. Flo because he had what I wish I never had, which was just beautiful hair, long hair.
Yeah.
3 outs away. I mean, just take me into that. I mean, you guys had to be feeling like we're so close. We're so close.
Yeah, Judy he had a good year coming in, and I think he really settled into the closer role at the end of the year. And I think the stats wouldn't lie. He was doing really good as a closer, and he had really good stuff, and it was exciting. And I think I think I actually made a mound visit before he went out there, and I just said like, hey, let's just have some fun. I know your stuff's good, and you're gonna beat them, and you're gonna get out, and we're gonna go to the championship.
And you guys did go to the championship, and even though you could not defeat which was a very good Bravehearts team, it's a season that will not be forgotten in, I think, Blues history for however long that they are a part of summer ball. Sam, as far as the after effect, being able to be a part of that, do you feel like that kind of in some ways kind of helped, and Peyton Stevens was also part of the team as well. Do you feel like that it kind of helped project and kind of push this Central team to what you guys were able to accomplish last year, getting to another regional and going up to Oregon to play?
Yeah, I think it definitely added some maturity and like a lot more knowledge to the game. Just, when you're in summer ball, you're playing a bunch of kids that are very good, and they come from a bunch of different programs and all over the country, and they all learn different things. And it's good to be able to like play against that competition and learn little ticks or little things that they do that can help me when we are in the conference or something. And I could remember something from summer ball, like, hey, a kid did this in this swing, and I know what to throw to him to get him out, or some guys do this, and I could do something like this, or I could help a pitcher out. And I think just that knowledge and that experience that I learned through Bristol really helped us out for sure.
Were there any similarities from the team that went to the regional to Arkansas and then the regional in Oregon? Were both teams like, were there any similarities or chemistry, anything like that, or no?
Oh, definitely the chemistry was there. All our teams, we're very close together, and I'd say our pitching staff for sure. Once we get into the tournament, our guys are lights out, and once our backs to the wall, it's over for us, and we really just turn on like a third gear, and it's over, and we grind it out until the very last out.
And that's what you did against LSU. And you and I were talking about, potentially ending what at the time was the legendary head coach at LSU. And LSU was able to kind of find a way to get out of it. But that game, man, I mean, I could probably, and I think a lot of people would agree, Connecticut was pulling for you guys to beat LSU.
For sure. We were too.
But just, I mean, even in that loss, I mean, did you guys feel like, was there any glass half full to that? Or was it just, I'm sure, I mean, it'd be stupid for me to say, oh no, you guys were completely fine losing in a regional and that your season was over. It's okay. Even though it was a tough pill to swallow, was there any sort of positive outlook you guys could see even a couple of days after?
Oh, for sure. I mean, our head coach always lets us know, like, when we go out there, like, it's business, but to have fun as well. It's a once in a lifetime experience, especially to play a team like LSU, where they could have more talent than us. But I'd say we look at the positives. Like, we competed with one of the best programs in the country, and we almost beat them too. And I think that's one of the positives we could take. We fought hard, and we definitely we played to the last out.
And with all the success that you've had, man, and now coming into this year, just how has the season been going? How, yourself, how are you doing behind the plate? Just talk to me about how the season, it has been going so far.
I think our season's been going pretty well. We had a pretty tough start to the year. We went down to Kansas State and got swept by them, but I thought that was very good for our team and for everyone on our team, because we got to be exposed to a really good program. And I think it just really helped us out. We're pretty good right now. I don't know what our record is, but we're doing pretty well. I'd say getting ready to play the Mount this weekend. And I think we're just doing really well.
And you're hitting over 300, which is typical Sam Loda. We'll always hit 300.
I wouldn't say typical, but I hope to keep it there.
Well, like you said, you simple approach. You try to just be able to put the ball in play, spray it around the outfield, and that will get the average and keep it high. You know what I mean? And then
For
defensively,
sure.
like you said, that's, and I think truly the way the game is going, and I think how, especially now with the shifts starting to be quote unquote banned in Major League Baseball, because I think it'd be stupid for them to do in the minor leagues when you're not going to see it in the major leagues. And
yeah,
the way that you hit, and I think the way that you call a game defensively and the way that your mind works. And hey, whenever you're done playing, I think coaching's in your future. Just my guess here. But
Okay.
I think there's an opportunity for you, man, to be able to have a shot with some team. And then I think the world is your oyster. You can go as far as they give you. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, Sam, before I let you go, and I really do appreciate you coming on. As far as how's the team doing within the NEC, and what are the potential opportunities as far as the rest of the season? What's your outlook on that?
I think we're like 7-4 in the NEC. I think we're sitting in like top 4 right now. Definitely projections is to win the NEC for sure. I think we can do that again this year. I'd love to go to another regional. I know the work that comes behind it. I think a bunch of our guys know the work that it takes, and we had a bunch of younger guys on the team that have stepped up a lot this year, made themselves stars really, and I think we're going to do really good.
And hopefully, not just another regional can be accomplished, and it would be your third, and also winning the NEC, which would be fantastic. But then also to hear your name called as well in the draft, because that's down the line. You never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
I would love it. I would love that.
But Sam, thanks so much for being able to come on. I really do appreciate it. Best of luck the rest of this season, and it was a pleasure to be able to talk with you and catch up because it's been some time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It was great talking to you, too.
No problem. Anytime, man. Now wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Town. I'm Marjorie. Find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.